A beautiful start to the week on Bitcoin. Our major level and final target at $61,200 was finally reached. For the people on the Discord, you know that we've been waiting for this target since the first drop at $70,000, and for the people on Twitter, as soon as we started being active, I talked about this level as you can see right there, $61,200. This being said, as we've reached my final target today, I've personally exited my short positions as I shared on the Discord. And if Bitcoin drops lower, I don't care at all because I've made very good money on this drop and I've followed my plan. And this is what you should do as well. Form a plan and follow it to the letter. This being said, back to the charts. As most of you know, what I wanted to see was a reversal after this move to the downside. And even though I still hold this view, I still haven't opened a long position. And that's what I want to talk about in this update. First of all, even though I haven't opened a long yet, I still believe that Bitcoin is potentially forming a bottom right here. And that's for many reasons. The first one is that we have a massive bearish candle right there on a huge increase in volume. If I zoom out, this is one of the highest volume candles that we've had since the low at $57,000 right there. And if you go on the Discord, this is exactly what I wanted to see. When Bitcoin was still above $64,000, I still wanted to see lower prices, and what I wanted to see near the lows were large red candles with massive volume. And this is what we have here. The second reason is simply because we've reached my target. So if I go on the daily chart, this is the low of the daily imbalances. And finally, we also have a daily order block right there. So for these reasons, I do believe that Bitcoin is potentially forming a bottom. But in this case, if we have this many confluences, why am I not looking for longs just yet? Well, that's for two simple reasons. The first one is that even though I did expect this move, if you go on the higher time frames, Bitcoin is simply looking very weak. As you can see, we've had a straight drop from $72,000 until today. So even though again I did expect this move, Bitcoin is looking very weak. And simply I'm not interested in catching a falling knife. I believe that it's a very good way to lose money easily, and I'm not interested in that, of course. And the second reason is simply because if you look at Bitcoin historically, what it does after big drops is go sideways. So look what happened very recently, for example. We had a big drop, then Bitcoin went sideways. One more time, we had a big drop, then Bitcoin went sideways. Right here again, drop sideways. One more example, big drop, and then Bitcoin went sideways. So what Bitcoin tends to do, as you've just seen, is that after big drops, it tends to go sideways. And this would be my base case right here. It will be that Bitcoin will not have a V-shaped recovery if we are to go higher, but it might go sideways for a couple of days, maybe grab a bit more liquidity to the downside, and then go higher. And for these two reasons, I'm not in a rush to open a long position. So this being said, what levels do we have above and below us? Well, first above us, of course, we have the daily open. If today Bitcoin is able to go back up and reach the daily open, then in my opinion, this would be a very bullish sign. However, other than the daily open, of course, we have the fixed range volume profile that we've been looking at for a while now. And the value area low, as you can see, comes in at $63,500. On top of that, we have imbalances on the 4-hour chart, and we have a bearish order block right there. So in my view, this would be the major resistance that Bitcoin has to break in order to go higher. It would be between the value area low and the bearish order block at $64,100. This being said, if Bitcoin is able to go higher, break above this area, and flip the value area low as support, for example, this in my opinion would be a very safe place to enter an aggressive long position. And then below us, honestly, I just see one level, which would be this low right there. If I go on the daily chart, what we have below it, of course, is sell side liquidity, but then we have the rest of these imbalances on this daily candle, and finally, it's also a psychological level at $60,000. So what Bitcoin could do, if you go on the 15-minute chart, for example, is go sideways for a couple of days, maybe do this for example, break below $60,000 and then reverse to the upside. And that's why at this point again, I'm not interested in a long position. Because as I said, I don't believe that Bitcoin will have a V-shaped recovery. I believe that we have two scenarios. Either it will go sideways and chop people out, or simply it will continue lower because Bitcoin is looking pretty weak on the higher time frames. And this being said, if you're confused, I would strongly advise that you do not take trades. What you can do again, just wait for a strong bounce, a reclaim of an important resistance area, and then when you have a retracement to the downside, this is where you can enter an aggressive long position. And that's what we did, for example, with this drop right here. If you remember, I did not catch this high, but what we did was look for shorts on retracements to the upside. The first short that I talked about was this one, which personally I did not catch because I wanted to see just a bit higher prices. But then, if you look at our prior updates, I did catch two very nice shorts. I caught this one, and then I caught this one as well last week. So on this move to the downside, I simply have the same mindset. I don't have to catch the bottom, I can wait for a bounce, a retracement, and at this point I can enter more aggressive long positions as I've said. And honestly, that's very simply it for this update. As you can see, I don't have a lot of levels on my chart, I simply have the daily open and my final targets, and at this point I'm just waiting to see what happens. I don't need to rush in a long position and get chopped out, and of course, near the lows, I don't believe that it's smart to open a short position. So right here, what you have is only long positions, and that's in my opinion if you want to be a smart trader. So this being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this update, and as usual, if you have any questions, I'm available inside the Discord. So see you soon everyone, and good luck.